Think about this for a second. You're 58 years old in America. You've worked for 35 years. No wild mistakes. No requisitos. You got up early, showed up on time, stayed loyal, paid your bills, did what responsible adults are supposed to do. You open your retirement account and see maybe $150,000 in it. Not amazing, but enough to talk yourself into a plan. You say, okay, 7 more years. Maybe that becomes $300,000. Add Social Security. I won't be comfortable, but I'll survive. And then your body interrupts the plan. Maybe it's your back. Maybe it's your heart. Maybe it's cancer. The diagnosis almost doesn't matter. What matters is that you can't keep working the same way anymore. Maybe you can't work full-time. Maybe you can't work at all. The paycheck stops. The health insurance tied to that paycheck disappears with it. And suddenly that retirement money you spent decades building stops being a future cushion and starts becoming emergency fuel. It bleeds out month by month just to keep you alive, keep the lights on, keep food in the fridge, keep prescriptions filled. 3 years later, you're 61. The account is empty. You're too young for full Social Security, too sick to go back to work. And that's when the truth finally lands. There is no backup plan. There never was. You did everything right, and it still didn't save you. And the disturbing part is this isn't some rare tragedy or freak misfortune. This is happening to millions of people right now. And once you really see why, you stop looking at retirement, work, and doing the right thing the same way ever again. Because the promise people were sold was simple. It was clean. It sounded fair. Get a job. Work hard. Be loyal. Don't complain. Stay out of trouble. Put in 30 or 40 years, and when your body starts wearing down, the system will take care of you. Maybe the company. Maybe the government. Maybe some combination of both. But the basic deal was clear. If you gave your best years to the machine wouldn't let you collapse at the end. That wasn't just financial advice. That was the social contract. That was the understanding millions of people built their lives around. They chose careers, marriages, mortgages, and family plans around that belief. Their parents believed it. Their bosses repeated it. Teachers hinted at it. Politicians wrapped themselves in it. It felt as permanent as gravity. But somewhere over the last few decades, that promise got shredded. Quietly. No press conference. No moment where someone stood up and announced, by the way, you're on your own now. The deal just changed. And the people who spent 40 years honoring their side of it are only now discovering that nothing solid was waiting on the other side. Right now, millions of Americans are moving toward old age with little or nothing saved. And the easiest lie is to pretend these are people who didn't care, didn't try, didn't plan. But that's not what this is. These are people who worked, who followed the script, who made sacrifices, who believed the system was built to reward responsibility. What they're learning instead is that the rules changed while they were busy living by them. And here's where it gets even harsher. Getting older doesn't just shorten the clock. It shrinks your options. At 25, you can recover from almost anything. You can quit a bad job, move across the country, switch industries, sleep on a friend's couch, rebuild from zero. At 55, the same advice becomes almost insulting. Start over sounds motivational until you realize employers say they value experience right up until they're choosing between you and someone 30 years younger who will work for less, ask for less, and cost less to insure. Just work longer. Sounds reasonable until your knees don't hold up, your back starts going, your energy drops, or a diagnosis shows up and decides the timeline for you. The entire retirement system is built on one rotten assumption, that if you don't have enough money, you can simply stay in the labor market a little longer and close the gap. But bodies are not spreadsheets. They do not negotiate. You cannot budget your way around a stroke. You cannot discipline your way out of cancer. You cannot out-hustle a degenerative condition. So the real trap is not just that you were supposed to save. It's that you were supposed to save enough before your health declined and before the market decided your labor was no longer worth the price. That window is much smaller than people admit. And for a lot of Americans, it is already slammed shut. Now let's get to the part people love to oversimplify. Why didn't they just save more? That line gets thrown around like it ends the conversation. But run the math honestly, and it falls apart almost immediately. Say you make $50,000 a year. Sounds decent on paper. After taxes, maybe you bring home around $38,000. That's a little over $3,100 a month. Now start subtracting real life. Rent or mortgage, health insurance, car payment, car insurance, utilities, groceries, gas, phone, internet, student loans, credit card minimums, medications, a kid's school expense, helping your parents, replacing tires, fixing a water heater, one dental bill, one emergency flight. 1 month where hours get cut. 1 week where you miss work. The point is not whether every single person has the exact same budget. The point is how little room is left after basic survival. People talk about saving like there's some pile of loose money just sitting in the average household waiting to be redirected into a retirement account. For millions of people, there isn't. Money comes in and goes right back out. Not because they're reckless, because the cost of existing has been climbing faster than pay for decades. Housing exploded. Healthcare exploded. Education exploded. Insurance exploded. Childcare exploded. Wages barely crawled. That gap is the story. So when millions of people can't save, that is not evidence of mass personal failure. That is evidence of structural impossibility. If one person can't do it, maybe that's on them. If tens of millions can't do it, the problem is not character. The problem is design. And what makes this even uglier is that something used to exist that covered some of this risk, and it was slowly removed while everyone was distracted. Pensions. A lot of younger people hear that word and think it sounds old-fashioned, almost mythical, like rotary phones or houses you could buy on one income. But pensions were real, and for millions of workers, they were the core of the entire retirement promise. You got hired. You stayed with the company. You did your job. When you retired, the company sent you a check every month for the rest of your life. Not if the market was up. Not if you picked the right mutual fund. Not if you happened to retire during a bull run. Just a check. Predictable. Boring. Stable. It wasn't glamorous, but it was secure. And security is exactly what retirement is supposed to be about. Then companies figured out they could get rid of that obligation and call it modernization. Why shoulder lifetime risk when you can push it onto workers and package it as freedom? So pensions got replaced with 401ks, and the branding was brilliant. Take control. Own your future. Build wealth. Be empowered. It sounded like an upgrade. In reality, it was a transfer of risk. Under a pension, if the market crashed, that was the company's headache. Under a 401k, if the market crashed right before you retired, congratulations, that was now your personal tragedy. The company got out. You stayed exposed.